In the years after the bus boycott, Dr. King made equality of rights his life's work. Across the country, he organized boycotts, rallies, and marches. Often he was beaten, imprisoned, but he never stopped teaching nonviolence. Work with the faith, he told his followers, that unearned suffering is redemptive.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
In 1964, Dr. King became the youngest man in history to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Dr. King's work brought him to this city often. And in one sweltering August day in 1963, he addressed 250,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial. If American history grows from 2 centuries to 20, his words that day will never be forgotten. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
John McCain, a war hero, 5.5 years as a POW, and you call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president?
Okay, you got to let me speak though, Frank, because you interrupt all the time, okay? He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
In 1968, Martin Luther King was gunned down by a brutal assassin. His life cut short at the age of 39. But those 39 short years had changed America forever. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 had guaranteed all Americans equal use of public accommodations, equal access to programs financed by federal funds, and the right to compete for employment on the sole basis of individual merit.
Carol, you and Philip sat down with the former president for 2.5 hours of interviews. I want to play part of the interview for the first time. It's about 5 minutes long, but you ask him about the January 6th and the insurrection, but it's an important part, so let's play that.
What did you hope they would do when you said, go up there and stop this?
Well, I heard that people wanted to go down to, that wasn't my rally per se. There were a lot of people that spoke.
Yeah.
They had rallies the night before. They had speakers all over the city. You had hundreds of thousands of people. I would venture to say, I think it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before. It went from that point, which is almost at the White House, to beyond the Washington Monument. It was, and wide. And
but if you could have waited,
and it was a loving crowd, too, by the way. There was a lot of love. I've heard that from everybody. Many, many people have told me that was a loving crowd. And it was too bad. It was too bad that got that they did.
There were just some.
But my statement.
But Mr. President, I apologize. What we're trying to understand is not blame, not castigate.
No, I understand.
We want to understand, what did you want when you said go up there? What would you have dreamed?
I would have said that you will show not to go in, although they were ushered in by the police. I mean, in all fairness, the Capitol Police were ushering people in. The Capitol Police were very friendly. They were hugging the kids. You don't see that, but there's plenty of tape on that too. Because the Capitol Police were. That's the way it is. But personally, what I wanted is what they wanted. They showed up just to show support, because I happen to believe the election was rigged at a level like nothing has ever been rigged before. There's tremendous proof. Statistically, it wasn't even possible that he won. Things such as if you win Florida and Ohio and Iowa, there's never been a loss. There was a
And
loss.
did you need better lawyers? Because they took it to court, but they didn't give enough evidence to convince the judges.
I needed better judges. The Supreme Court was afraid to take it. Don't forget, if you take everything out, take all of the dead people that voted, and there were thousands of them, by the way. We have lists of, obituaries that said, if you take the illegal immigrants that voted, if you take this, the Indians that got paid to vote in different places, we had Indians getting paid to vote. Many, many different things. All election changing, not just, 12 people. I mean, all, because they were all very close, it's only in 5 places. If you take that, forget all of that. It's massive numbers, but forget all of that. If you take all of that, just look at one thing. The legislatures of the states did not approve all of the things that were done for those elections. And under the Constitution of the United States, they have to do that. And the Supreme Court.
I mean, there's so many. It's fascinating that I said this. This is like listening to Nixon drunk rambling, except he's not drunk. He's just rambling, and that he still is holding on to all these lies.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965 had made certain that from then on, black Americans would get to vote. But most important, there was not just a change of law. There was a change of heart. The conscience of America had been touched. Across the land, people had begun to treat each other not as blacks and whites, but as fellow Americans. And since Dr. King's death, his father, the Reverend Martin Luther King Sr., and his wife, Coretta King, have eloquently and forcefully carried on his work. Also, his family have joined in that cause. Now, our nation has decided to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by setting aside a day each year to remember him and the just cause he stood for. We've made historic strides since Rosa Parks refused to go to the back of the bus. As a democratic people, we can take pride in the knowledge that we Americans recognized a grave injustice and took action to correct it. And we should remember that in far too many countries, people like Dr. King never have the opportunity to speak out at all. But traces of bigotry still mar America. So each year on Martin Luther King Day, let us not only recall Dr. King, but rededicate ourselves to the commandments he believed in and sought to live every day. Thou shalt love thy God with all thy heart, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.